The current top dog of the Japanese air tech tree and a welcome upgrade over its predecessor, the 11.0 standard EGA. To keep competitive inside the current meta, the Kai utilizes a powerful pulse Doppler radar and the well-regarded AIM-7. The combination of its missiles and a powerful radar is what makes this plane shine, as 90% of the time you will be able to send a present to your foe without fail. Equipped with the JM61, it is probably the best primary armament at top tier currently in the game. It blows away its European and Russian counterparts with its stellar muzzle velocity, fire rate and damage. These traits mean that it is highly effective and extremely deadly once you have learnt the muzzle velocity. Be aware of the 6000 RPM and 640 round ammo capacity, however, as they mean that you must use it in short bursts and be aware of your ammo counter before engaging. There is also a short spooling time between the mouse click and when the first bullet leaves the barrel. When taking it head on, you need to cancel out any sideways momentum the plane has in order to get your guns on target. To do this, simply aim further to the side you were just banking towards. You will see the bullets go off at a tangent and hopefully hit your target. It is best to pull off between 2 km and 1 km depending on the speed. Aiming between the diamond and the name tag is your best bet depending on the range. However, don't forget to adjust your aim if you have previously been pulling up or down. The radar, which is also found on the F-16, has access to pulse Doppler, meaning that ground cluster has little effect on the tracking of your target, thus adding to the lethality of its sparrows. Personally, I find it's best to narrow the search area by pressing Y16 when I want to lock a target that I can see, as this means that I have more control over what it selects, therefore ignoring any other targets picked up by the radar. Be aware, however, that the radar might have trouble locking onto something travelling perpendicular to your aircraft. The ways in which you will lose the lock or the ability to lock is if someone pre-chaffs you or notches the radar. If you are chasing someone, your radar might have a lock, but the circle around your target will be incomplete and grey, meaning that the Sparrow will not track once it is released from the aircraft. The two main missiles you will be using are the AIM-9Ps and the AIM-7F. The 9Ps are just your average heat-seeking missile and are not particularly special when compared to something like an R60. However, they are reliable and will get the job done if used correctly. Their optimal launch distance is around 2 km on a target that you are gaining on. If chasing behind them at similar speeds, it's best to launch at around 1 km, as this means they will have less time to flare and they will have to manoeuvre harder. While inferior to other missiles in terms of turning and speed, the AIM-9s are less likely to hit for flares in comparison to something like an R60. The AIM-7E2, now known as the AIM-7F, is the bread and butter of the EGA Kai, as it is highly effective at getting rid of enemies both at high and low altitudes thanks to its being paired with a very strong radar. Moreover, not many people know how to dodge radar missiles, so as long as you get your missile off first, you should be fine. A further benefit to this new Sparrow is its manoeuvrability. It can pull 25 Gs and it tracks right off of the railing, allowing for head-ons at around 3 to 4 km and some rather cheesy kills. One downside is that your opponents will be alerted due to their radar warning system, meaning they have the chance to act if they were previously unaware, whereas something like an R60 does not have this problem. When firing, be careful of enemies flying at deck level and perpendicular to your plane, as this may result in a failed track or the missile slamming into the ground. With the release of the F4JN Tomcat, it is better to stay at low altitude because their missile outperforms yours in both range and speed. While an average flight model means that it will be outperformed by its American cousin, the MiG-23 MLDs, and obviously the Viggen, it is not one to be frowned upon. The American F4 will outturn it with its Agile Eagle mod, and the MiG-23 will both outturn and out-accelerate it. So be careful when selecting a dogfight and consider your opponent's energy and the position of the teams. Overall, the flight model is well rounded with a good mix of speed and manoeuvrability, performing best at around 750 km an hour, making it a solid base for its missile slinging capabilities. Once you have grinded out the 390,000 research points that is needed to unlock this vehicle, you will need to pay 1.06 million silver lions in order to buy it, and then a further 300,000 silver lions for the crew train. It is recommended to get the expert crew level at a cost of 1.06 million, bringing the total cost to 2.40 million silver lions. For the modifications, you should prioritise flares, the AIM-9P, AIM-7 and the G-suit, and one more tier 2 that you fancy in order to get the Sparrow 2s. If you aren't too confident in your dogfighting skills, I'd recommend base bombing and head-ons with minimal fuel in order to gain as much RP as possible. During the MiG-23 MLD meta, playing at altitude and diving in and out from the side of the furball was a viable tactic. However, with the addition of things like the F4J and Tomcat, flying at altitude is not nearly as effective, if not suicidal, depending on your missile evading ability. The strategy now is to fly with your team off to the left of your airfield, with not too steep of a climb, nor completely flat, so that you pull away from the rest of your team, get swarmed by the enemies before they can help you. Coming in from the side will give you time and distance needed in order to select the targets that are of high threat to you and your team. When you turn into the map to engage, select targets that are closest to you, and if there are multiple, prioritise the ones that are the biggest threat to you or your team. Once you have committed to engaging, continue to fly forwards or diverge off to the side if it is safe to do so. This will mean that you don't then turn around in front of an enemy coming towards you, and end up being an easy pick for them. Speed is key in the Phantom because of the limited turning performance. It is only recommended to dogfight enemies when you have the teammates with you or you are alone with an energy advantage. Sometimes the better option will be simply run away and fight defensively in order to regroup with your teammates. When evading heat seekers, you will need to turn off your afterburner momentarily and then pop a few flares, otherwise the missile will continue to track you because your engines are too hot. I would recommend taking the 20-minute fuel load as it keeps the plane light during the final dogfight or chase if that occurs, and there is enough to return back to the base if there are any enemies left out of reach. Unlike the vast majority of other jets at top tier, you don't get any fancy cast weaponry, so your best bet is Zunis and your ballistics computer. With the A10 updates, the Kai received a nice buff which allows it to use custom loadouts. This means that you can bring your full missile loadout along with plenty of Zunis. Very few people expect Sparrows to be coming their way, as name tags don't show up in ground RB, meaning you are even more deadly when facing enemy air vehicles. As the Zunis are quite powerful, they can be used to splash helis that are low to the ground, however make sure you don't splash yourself. To engage enemy helicopters, it is best to turn your engine off by pressing I when you are some distance away. Approaching from the side is also recommended as this will reduce your chance of being noticed, and attacking from the front is often impossible due to the capabilities of helicopters like the Ka-50 to defend themselves. To engage enemy helicopters, it is best to turn your engine off by pressing I when you are some distance away. Approaching from the side is also recommended as this will reduce the To engage enemy helicopters, the strategy now is to fly with your team off to the left of your